Hey guys, it's Sarah from Just My Typewriter, and I'm once again joined by the weirdos of my collection. So today I'm going to go through and enter a few more of my typewriters into the Typewriter database. Now, if you don't know what the Typewriter database is, I've listed the prerequisite video for this one down there in the description. But basically, the Typewriter database is this really helpful website for typewriter collectors. A couple people have gone through and aggregated all the serial numbers and manufacturing information about tons of the typewriters out there in the world and listed them all in this chart format. So you can look at a brand of typewriter and go through all of the models that that typewriter brand has made and get an idea of where the serial numbers fall based on what years they made certain models, and it can really help you determine the age of your machine. An additional feature that the Typewriter database has is that they allow you to add gallery images to the Typewriter database. So people can go out there, take pictures of their machines, list them under the typewriter brand and model so that you can go through and see all of the other typewriters that look like yours. So for example, if you don't know what machine you have, like this Royal Safari over here, you could go through the Typewriter database, look at all the Royal typewriters because you've got the branding across the machine, look for something that looks similar to your machine, and then click on that specific model name, the Safari, and scroll through all of the typewriters that are also Royal Safaris. You can look at their serial numbers, you can look at what they look like, you can look at their typeface, and determine where your machine fits into that categorization. Now, I've added a few of my machines to the Typewriter database before, but as I've gone through and done some research on some of the machines in my collection, I've noticed that there's not a ton of postings about some of them. So I think it's my typewriter duty to add to the Typewriter database today a couple of the weird machines from my collection. So I started by taking photos of the weird typewriters in my collection. I selected the ones that there aren't a ton of information about, or ones that are kind of cool and specific to my collection, like my Barbie typewriters. I took photos of the front, the side, and the back of all of those machines. Then I went through the process of also creating a typeface specimen. So I do a quick index card of all the information about my typewriters. In fact, I have it here with me. What I do is I take the name of the typewriter, the thing that I've named it because I'm strange. I will list that on an index card, and then I will go through and list also the serial number, the model of the typewriter, the year I've determined that typewriter's from based on the Typewriter database, and then I'll do a quick run through of the alphabet and all the keys on the typewriter. I went through and also scanned these into my computer so that I could submit these as typeface specimens. This is helpful for people who are trying to determine what kind of typeface they might have, or if they're looking at maybe getting a typewriter that's the same as yours, they can see what kind of typefaces are available on that machine from the samples that are already posted in the Typewriter database. So if you remember from my last video, I had a lot of trouble getting onto the Typewriter database and getting approved to be a typewriter hunter, which are the people who can go out and actually add their machines to the Typewriter database, and it took me a while to figure out that my photos were too large. So I went through the process of already resizing all of my photos to make them standard and ready for the Typewriter database. I uploaded all of my typewriter specimens and I made sure they were the right size, and now we're just going to enter all of these machines into the Typewriter database. So let's get started. Okay, now I'm on to the Typewriter database website. Once you've created an account with the Typewriter database, you can go up to the Members tab in the corner and see your account. So you can go to your account, change your information. You can also view your typewriter galleries. So I've uploaded a few typewriters to the Typewriter database before, and I can see which ones I've uploaded via my gallery section. And then I can also create a new gallery. So I'm going to go through and why is it asking me to sign in again? I'm going to go in and add a new typewriter gallery. And I'm just going to pick one of the machines in my collection and upload all of its info. So I'm going to take my handy dandy index cards and just go through the stack. I have quite a few that I want to add into the Typewriter database, again, just to help people in the future who might be looking at machines that are similar to mine, that there's not a ton of samples of them in the gallery. So I'm going to start with my Tower Chieftain typewriter, who I've named Row. And what I do is I can go through and say, yes, this typewriter is in my collection. I can then select the brand that this typewriter is in. So this is a Tower typewriter. I can then put in the typewriter model. This is a Chieftain, and this is a Chieftain 1. There are 3 variations of the Chieftain. If you want to see the video about my Tower Chieftain, I'll link that down below as well. And then I can put in the year of manufacturing. Now, I went through the Typewriter database based on the serial number and already figured out what year my machine is from. So mine's from 1956. And then you also input the serial number. So on my machine, the serial number is this number. You can also put in notes about your machine. I never know what to put into this section because it's intimidating. Like, say anything you want about this typewriter. What I do think I'm going to put in here is that this machine is actually a rebranded Olivetti Lettera 22, which was sold by Sears, the department store. So I do think I'm going to put that in the notes because it took me a bit to figure that out, and I think that's a really cool factoid about this machine. So I'm going to put that in there. Then I can go in and put in my front-facing typewriter photo. Now you're allowed to add some more photos into the next section, but I'm going to just start by adding in my front-facing photo, and I have a folder here on my computer with all my resized images. And then I'm also going to add in my typeface specimen, which I also scanned in and have here. It's going to be green because that's the note card that I have. So you can see here all of my information is in here. The first time when I did this the first few times, it wouldn't let me actually create the gallery because the photo was the wrong size. I've since learned the right photo dimensions to put this in, and there is information about that on the site. But I can also update the gallery. By clicking Update the Gallery, I can add more gallery photos. I've saved all of my photos in there. We're gonna make sure that we're completely updated. And after all of this information is in there, I'm going to go to my typewriter galleries. And there he is, there's Ro. So I have him in here, it's got the date in there, it's got the brand, the model, and the serial number. Now I can also go through and view the Tower Chieftain model. So if I went over here to the side, you'll see where it says photo galleries of typewriter models. I can type in Tower, and then I can select the model I want to look at. And when I do that, it'll bring up all of the other Tower Chieftains that are entered into the typewriter serial database. And here's mine right here, there's my little face with my Olympia SM9, but you can see here that's where my typewriter fits into this categorization. So there's one of my typewriters added to the serial database. I've got quite a few more that I want to go through and do, so let's do another one. The next one on my stack is actually this beautiful Royal 10. If you've never seen my Royal 10 Restoring a Bad Typewriter from Start to Finish series, I'll also link that playlist down below. This Royal 10 was in a really bad state when I first got it. I bought it for about $15. It didn't work. It had chipped paint. It was a mess. I went through the process of properly restoring this machine. Now, as you'll see on my type sample, it's still not perfect, but I do think that it's a really interesting piece of my collection, and I do want to add it to the serial database. There are a lot of Royal 10s in the serial database because they had slight variations over time and they made the model for a really long time. You can have a difference in side panels, so older machines will have double panels. Mine has a single panel, but I want to add mine because it's a weird color, which I did repaint, and it also has these amazing stained glass side panels that were sent to me from Typewriter Chicago. Yes, that's right. And I adore them, and I think it's a really cool piece of typewriter history at the moment because it's a repaint, it was on the internet, and it's got these really cool stained glass panels. So I want to add this into the serial database. Even though it's a more popular model, I just think it's a weird one from my collection specifically. One other thing that I can do is I can include links. So what I'm going to do is go to my Just My Typewriter YouTube channel, and I'm going to link the playlist of restoring this video. So I have the Buying a Bad Typewriter series. I'm going to view the full playlist, and I'm going to share the link from that and actually add that into my posting of this typewriter so that people can go through, click on that post, see that it looks weird, and see the full process of me fixing this typewriter. Like I said, there are a lot of Royal 10s posted in the typewriter database. It is a very popular machine, and they made a lot of them. See here, the first one is from 1913. Mine's from 1931, so I gotta scroll through all of the 20s, 24, 27, we're getting close. Here's the 1930s, and there's mine, 1931. What's the next on my list? Oh, okay, so this one is a little bit different, and this one might take me a second to find. This is a typewriter that I got after I was in the newspaper. If you want to see that video, I'll link that down below as well. I got several calls from people who saw my article in the newspaper about my typewriter collecting and then called me afterward saying that they had a typewriter that they would like for me to have. So I actually got a few typewriters in that video, and I actually had a woman call me about a month later who saw me in the newspaper. She got my phone number somehow, and she called me and said, hey, I have a Montgomery Ward typewriter. I just want to give it to you. So I met her in a parking lot. I got this Montgomery Ward typewriter, never had one of those before, and I went through the process of cleaning it, and I realized, just like that Tower Chieftain, it's actually a rebranded machine that was sold through a department store. So this machine was actually manufactured by Brother, and I love my Brother Wizard True Type typewriter. This was made by Brother, it was made in Japan, and then it was branded as a Montgomery Ward typewriter, which is the department store. Now, I named this machine Rudolph because Montgomery Ward actually had a sales promotion where one of their writers came up with the concept of Rudolph and came up with the song for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for a promotion for Montgomery Ward. So I thought that was a really cool piece of history, and that's why I named that typewriter that thing. The issue here is that I don't exactly know what category it falls into because it's a Brother machine, but it's also a Montgomery Ward machine. So let's do a little bit of research before we add in this typewriter because I don't exactly know what category it falls into. So they have Montgomery Ward typewriters, and let's see if they have my model. So mine is a Signature 44T. Okay, so they do have some machines that look like mine. Actually, this top one from 1966 does look like mine, but mine says H. Interesting. And mine is from 1965. Is that possible? Will mine be the first one in the listing? Ha ha ha. Another reason that people add their typewriters into the typewriter database is actually if they have an interesting typeface specimen. So not only would they have a machine that maybe looks really interesting or cool, or they just want to have a catalog of all the machines in their collection, they might actually upload that to the typewriter database so that you can check out a cool typeface. And that's what happened in the case of this Royal Safari over here. So this is my Royal Safari that I got while I was in Chicago. I'll link that video down below, but this typewriter actually has a cursive typeface. We call that script. And I do have a really interesting type sample of it. I named this machine Holly Golightly because Audrey Hepburn, and I'm just like that. So I did go ahead and make a typeface specimen for this machine, and I'm going to add that to the typewriter database so that people can see what a Royal Safari looks like when it has a script typeface. So let's go ahead and add that. I also try to include the case in some of the photos so that people know what the case traditionally would look like with that typewriter. In case you have a machine that you got that doesn't have the case with it, you'd have an idea of what that might look like. And there can be variation in the cases based on the year. So I can go through, I can view the gallery, there's my typewriter, there's her typeface, there's the story of the machine, some additional photos, and that's my posting. So I'm going to go through and also double check where she is in the rotation. And you can see here those machines start in 1962, so mine's a little bit later. Here's a similar yellow one from 1963. And mine is all the way down here in 1968. There's another yellow one from 1966. There's my 1968. The next one here is actually also on this table. This one is weird. So I went to do some research about this Royal Safari 2. I got this one for Christmas for my sister. I think she got it for like $10. It was broken. I did fix it. It required a lot of stabbing at the escapement. I don't know what I did exactly, but when I went to go do some research on the year of this machine, I had trouble finding information. So when I went through to find the Royal Safari 2, I'll just show you what happened. So I went Royal Safari 2, because that's what it is, and it's not on the list. You'll see here there's no option for Royal Safari 2, which is what it is. So then I went through and I said, okay, well, where are the other Royals? Let's see if I can just find it in the list and figure out what year it's made from the list of Royal typewriters in general. And as I go through here, I can see that there are no Royal Safari 2s listed in the types of models across the top. If I scroll all the way down and I look for a typewriter that just matches visually, I see the Royal Safari 2 here, and it was only made for 2 years, 1985 to 1987, but it was manufactured by another company. So I said, oh, okay, well, this one was made in Japan. It was manufactured and licensed from another company. Let's see if I can see where all of those machines are. So I clicked on the name of the company, All, which takes me to their listing of typewriters. They made these typewriters, mostly electric typewriters, and I can't see the Royal Safari 2 in here anywhere. But I then continued to do a little bit more research, and then I saw across the top here that there's a designation for Royal specific machines made by this company, so I clicked on that. And then I ran into the same listing. So I had trouble figuring out where this machine was actually made. So then I decided to go through and just search that designation. So the Royal, and then I'm going to click through and see if, yep, here I can go to that designation of the Royal brand manufactured by this Japanese company. And now I can see that the Safari 2 is listed as an option. So I'm going to click on that to see the typewriter gallery, and there's only one model included. And it's from the 1970s, which it was not manufactured during, it was actually manufactured according to the Royal list between 1985 and 1987. Bit of a conundrum, and I had trouble dating this machine because of that information. And my serial number is very similar to the one that they have on there. So I decided to add my typewriter into the serial database under this designation in case anybody else out there finds a machine just like mine and doesn't know what it means, doesn't know what to do with it. So I'm going to go through and add in this specific machine. Now there should be 2 of them, and there's mine. So now there's 2 samples in the typewriter database. If you have one, please go add it to the typewriter database so that more people can see these machines. Now I have the 3 strangest typewriters in my collection to add into the database. I have this thing where I kind of like collect Barbie typewriters. If you want to see some Barbie typewriter videos, I'll include those in the links in the description as well. I have 3 Barbie typewriters now in my collection, 2 electrics and 1 manual, which is recent, like it came in last week. And I'm going to add them into the database because if you look at the typewriters, there's not a specific gallery for Barbie typewriters. However, there's a specific gallery for Mahano typewriters that are Barbie manufactured. So they're manufactured by Mahano, which is a Slovenian company, but they're actually Barbie branded typewriters. There's only 3 in here, and that makes it kind of hard to know information about the Barbie typewriters. It's hard to give dates to them, and I have 3 of them, so it is my duty to add these into the typewriter database. So I'm going to go through and add in these machines. Now you can see here that Mahano does have other designation models. So this one over here is a C193 technically. But I think I'm going to add it in under Barbie because the other one in here is a Mahano specific brand, and I think all of these belong to the Barbie designation rather than the C193. This one says it's 2002. I think my machine's probably from that same time period, maybe the 1990s, really difficult to know. There are no serial numbers on the Barbie branded typewriters. However, I do have some very terrible typeface specimens because they do not type well, and none of the other listings actually have that in their postings. So I'm going to go through and add in my Barbie typewriters because somebody's got to do it. So I'm adding that one. Looks great. Just going to make sure that it's updated. And then I'm going to go in and add in my 2 electric typewriters. These ones are a little bit different. These are the ones with the coding and decoding functions, which I think is amazing. I know the dates of these ones because it was actually stamped in the box because it came with the box. I don't have the box for the manual one. So I know that this one specifically, my second one, is from 2006. And I'm going to put in the stuff about the coding and decoding because I think it's fascinating. I'm going to add in some more gallery photos here so you can see the side of the machine. So here's the side. I'm going to add in a photo of the back. And these machines are all plastic. They're not great typewriters, but they're just really cool pieces of history. So I am going to include actually a link to my Barbie video where I talk about that, just so that people can go and learn more if they want to. So I'm going to add in the link from my Barbie typewriter video under links. And then let's put in my last Barbie typewriter, so that that's also in the database. So we'll have uploaded 3 Barbies today. And then I'm gonna go in and check out the Mahano branded of typewriters. So let's go in and go to Mahano. Let's go to, why won't you let me select a model? And let's see where my machines are in the listings. So there's the ones made by this other person who also has a C193 and an electric. And there's mine, there's my 2004 machine, there's my 2006, and there's my 2000s manual. So I've added all of those into the typewriter database. Let's go to my typewriter galleries, see what's there. I've included a link to my YouTube channel on my page for that. And I also have then all of my typewriters that have been added to the database, and it goes by year. So you can see here I've had all my machines added into the typewriter database. Those are all mine. So that was a little bit of me adding some of my weird oddball typewriters into the typewriter database. This is an incredible resource for any collector to figure out the year of your machine, to figure out how it was manufactured, other models that might be comparable. I had no idea that that Royal Safari 2 was actually made by somebody else for Royal. So that's a piece of information I could have only gotten from the typewriter database. It's incredibly important to help aggregate information about typewriters so we have a better understanding of where they were, where they came from, what years they're from, and adding to the typewriter database is going to help the community at large so that when people find a Barbie typewriter, they can go into the typewriter database and see my postings, be able to find out about that machine, check out my video on the coding functions of that machine, and just learn more about that typewriter. So I encourage you to add your typewriters to the typewriter database. If you're like me and all of your information about the machines in your collection is on index cards, this is a great way to digitize that and keep it all together in one place and have a gallery of the typewriters you've had over time. You can include typewriters that you've actually gotten rid of or sold, so you can have kind of a history of all the machines you've had over time. I do want to also encourage you to support the typewriter database. I will include a link to the Redbubble store below. I actually have a typewriter database t-shirt. I don't know why I'm not wearing it right now. I should have done that. But I love that t-shirt, and I love that by purchasing that, some of the profits went to supporting the typewriter database. So check out their stuff. It's really important to utilize this resource, and if you do use it, to support this resource. If you're interested in more information on the typewriter database or any of the videos I've referenced today, there are links down in the description of all the things I referenced and also more videos on this YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about typewriters or see more of my collection, I also have an Instagram at just.my.typewriter. I want to thank you all so much for watching today and remind you that you're just my typewriter. Do you want to show them your haircut? Hello, I got a homemade haircut. Look at the camera. There they are. Say hello. I got a haircut and I don't like it.